Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we are pleased to have with us this evening 3 students from the Google Summer of Code program, all of whom I know and think are absolutely fabulous. Miss Angela Byron with the Drupal project. She was a Summer of Code student in 2005 and went on to be the program administrator for Drupal in 2006. And here we have Laurence Vandeput and Hannes Papenberg, both Joomla Summer of Code students for 2006. So I'm going to let these guys get to telling you all about what their respective projects do, a little bit about the student perspective on the program, and then after that we have beer and Dutch candy. It's awesome.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. We are going to start with a presentation about content management systems in general, and then about Joomla and Drupal in a specific area. And later on, we are going to talk about our Summer of Code projects. And yeah, first slide. So for us Joomla guys, Laurence, you want to start with you?
I'm Laurence Vandeput. I'm from Belgium, and I've been a Summer of Code student. This is, well, Hannes Papenberg. Yeah. And he's also a Summer of Code student, and well, since I think December this year, we have been invited in the development working group of Joomla, who's, well, actually doing the current development of the upcoming release cycles of Joomla. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm a student applied computer science in Leuven in Belgium. I've been in open source since 2004. I started with Mambo, which was actually the previous Joomla, but well, because of some problems, we forked to Joomla. I'm graduating in software engineering, so basically just a big bunch of programming and software development and web applications. And well, my main goal in Joomla 1.5 is implementing web services and, well, extending the power of Joomla in a horizontal way, so that the implementation with other systems is, well, quite easy and convenient.
Okay. Yeah, I'm studying IT engineering and physics in Münster. It's in Western Germany, and I've been in open source since 2002. And not with Mambo or Joomla, but with PHP Bulletboard. And I joined the ranks of Joomla users in 2005. And yeah, my project was user and access management. Joomla is a bit restricted in that area, and when I joined Joomla, that was my first concern. So I started working on that and got to the project in the end. Okay.
Sure. So what the agenda is for this part of the talk is first we're going to talk a little bit generally about what content management systems are. Then we'll dig into what Joomla is as a project and where it stands and that sort of thing. We'll also get these guys to talk about their Summer of Code projects that they did. And then at some point I will be jumping in to talk to you about Drupal, which is another content management system. So just so you can have a broader picture. So when we talk about, this is chapter 1, Joomla. Joomla is what's called a content management system. What that generally refers to, it can refer to a lot of different things, which is why it's such a kind of a weighted word. But in general, what it's about is making your content all in a centrally managed place. So forums, polls, articles, all that kind of stuff in one spot where you can administrate it centrally, and it's all dynamically generated, as opposed to back in the old days where you had to make a bunch of little static HTML files, and if you wanted to update the header to look different, you had to go into 15 different files and change it. It tries to eliminate a lot of that so you can focus on what your site does well, which is generating content, rather than the back end that makes everything work. They also are generally very modular, so you can extend them to do event calendars and e-commerce and all that kind of stuff, all from the same basic framework.
Well, yeah, as well as templating, you can, well, just basically switch a template in like 2 minutes to generate a complete different look and feel for a website. in a very easy and convenient way. So that's also a quite a big purpose of content management systems.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so Joomla. I don't know if you guys know Mambo CMS. Well, yeah, Mambo actually was a content management system which was released by a commercial company. So they put it on the open source market with a GPL license. And because, last year we had some troubles with the company, so we basically forked from Mambo to Joomla. And the complete core team left Joomla and left Mambo, and moved to Joomla. So basically it's the same project with the same team, but just a rebrand, a different name. So Joomla, extend the power of Joomla in a horizontal way. I think that's a quite important sentence that describes Joomla. Joomla is all about extending its platform and implementing as many technologies as possible in a very convenient way. So what does this mean? It means like implementing interfaces such as web services, web dev, very easily, so that the communication with other systems is very easy. That's not only for the horizontal extension of Joomla, but as well for the actual content. It has to be very, very easy and very convenient. Basically, that's what Joomla is all about. It's power and simplicity. So that's very important in Joomla. Think first, then react. It's quite difficult to get things organized in a large open source project such as Joomla. Therefore, it's very important to really start discussing and start communicating with all the members in all development in all the working groups, and really discuss the items we want to implement from various perspectives, such as development, such as accessibility, documentation, and so on. So it's not about just, I have an idea and I want to implement it. No, you have to really discuss it and start communicating with all the working groups. There were quite some challenges in the Joomla open source project. First of all the different members, the core members and the work group members, they're all over the place in the world. So, for instance, when you when you have a developer who's living in America, here in San Francisco, and a developer that's living in Europe, basically the guys in Europe go to sleep when the guys in San Francisco wake up. So it's quite a challenge to get everything organized to work in an effective and productive way. So that's quite a challenge.
And
how did you guys solve that challenge?
We've got a forum and we've got mailing lists, and we use IRC channels to chat, and it's it's pretty standard, but it's
just a matter of good communication.
Yeah.
If you have good communication, things will work out, and you can work in an effective and productive way that way. So. And another challenge and a very nice thing actually is that you get a chance with people you've never seen. In Joomla, it's not that strange when you're working with people that you've never seen for like 1 or 2 years. I mean, it's the first time that I see Louis Landry. He's the lead developer. It's the first time I met him here in San Francisco. So it's really nice about this project. You work with these guys for like a year. You start developing. You really get to know them on the internet, on Skype, on IRC. But once you just meet them, it's very nice, and just see the person in real life. That's also a challenge, but it's also a very nice thing of open source projects, in my opinion. So.
Okay.
To create an open source CMS in an accessible way. Accessibility is quite a hype these days. If you have like a CMS that's very, very powerful, but that's just not accessible, users won't use it. Because the main purpose of a CMS, of a content management system, is to, just simplify the way of organizing data. And if the system which is basically packed around the data, isn't accessible, the main purpose of CMS systems is just gone. So it's very important to create an accessible way of providing a manner of just a manner of give a chance to the users to start integrating the data, to start organizing the data. An advantage of Joomla is the easy interaction with third-party systems and components. The Joomla CMS is built on a framework that allows you to integrate very, very easy third-party components. For instance, there's a large forum, it's called SMF, it's just a third-party forum. You can perfectly integrate it in Joomla because of its API. So that's a quite big advantage of the Joomla API. And well, last thing is that, well, since the 1.5 release cycle, Joomla has been completely rewritten, and there has been a PHP framework developed, such as the PHP framework. And actually, Joomla is built on top of this framework. So for instance, when you take a look at Joomla and you think like, okay, Joomla is nice, but it's way too big for me, you can still use the application framework, the PHP application framework, to just develop your own application without using Joomla directly. So basically, Joomla is just an application on top of the framework. So that's quite important to know. Okay, about the Summer of Code. So Hannes and I have been a student in the Summer of Code in 2006. And, well, it was fun. I mean, you write a proposal, you get accepted, and you just start communicating, you start working with all those core members, and it's really fun. You get chances to really, to start working together with all those core members. You get full support from the core team. You get appreciation from the community. It's very, very fun. A thing which was quite unique in my case is that I had a live mentor. Most of the of the Summer of Code students had a mentor which they had to meet over the internet. So they had to make an appointment and then start communicating over IRC, over Skype, over, well, doesn't matter. The advantage of a live mentor is that you just go see him, you're sitting in front of the computer, and you start discussing problems. And I think that's a very effective way of problem solving in the Summer of Code. If you have a problem, you just look together to the problem and you solve it. And that's a very big advantage. I think if I hadn't a live mentor, the deliverables of my project would have, well, twice as small, I think. So it's a really big advantage.
Sorry.
No problem. Another advantage of the Google Summer of Code is that you actually learn something. When you go to college or university, most of the time you just get an introduction on various subjects of object-oriented design. And when it gets interesting, they have to switch subjects, because if not, they're gonna run out of time. When you're doing the Summer of Code, you're really making a piece of software that will be used in a real life environment. You really have to make sure that it's accessible, that, well, that it's bug-free, that it doesn't crash when you click on the submit button, and so on. And that's a complete different experience than just making some exercises at college or at university. So actually, the motivation is also completely different. When you create a project in the Summer of Code environment, you just create your project and you know that it's actually practical. It will be used in the context of the context of the product, which is Joomla in our case. So the motivation and the perspective is completely different than going to college and making your exercises, because you know, okay, so I make those exercises, but, well, I'll be probably forgotten them in 3 or 4 days. So that's a completely different approach of the feeling you get with the Summer of Code, and with, well, actually just to take part in an open source project.
It's also good practice for general team play, and I mean, when do you learn in school or university to really start a project from beginning,
yeah.
like planning what do the guys want out there, and what can I achieve in all the time I have, and what are the features of my code, and the summer of code really provided this area where you can gain experience, and yeah.
Basically, you're just on your own when you make some exercises at school. There's still a lecturer who, well, might help you if you have some problems, and there's like a red line in all those exercises. When you do a summer of code project, it's, well, okay, make this piece of software, good luck with it. So it's completely different, and well, it's nice.
Okay, next one.
Okay, maybe Andrew wants to talk. Sorry.
I guess I'll do my spiel.
Yeah, I'll switch.
Okay, hi. I'm Angela Byron from the Drupal project, and today is December 21st. Anyway, so who am I? I'm, as I just said, Angie Byron. I was a Summer of Code student in 2005 for the Drupal project, and then in 2006 I got bumped to being a mentor / project administrator for Drupal. So it was kind of a long way to go in a year. When I had first started with Drupal, I had never actually played with Drupal. I hadn't touched it. I had heard about it because of the Spread Firefox project was running that as its back end. And I was like, well, that sounds cool. And then I just kind of went on. So when I was looking for an organization to apply to, that one grabbed me again because I'm very interested in activism and things like that. So from there, I've gone on to be a mentor. I'm currently employed in a Drupal consulting firm called Lullabot, and they do websites for Sony and MTV and people like that use Drupal as a back end. And it's great because we get to funnel all these corporations' money into making the platform better. So, you know, hey, they need a module that does X. Great. So we'll throw that in CVS and get the community so they can use it too. And it's a really mutually beneficial thing. So yeah, I started hacking Drupal and doing open source development both because of Summer of Code. I'll get into more of my experiences with Summer of Code a little bit later, but that's basically an introduction to who I am. I'm from Montreal, so not that far away. Woo, Canada. So what is Drupal? Drupal is two things. It's a content management system. So for regular users, it's a way for them to go into their website and write an article or a blog entry or something like that, and that kind of stuff. It's also a content management framework. So it's for developers who want to use all the base features that Drupal gives them, like user management and access roles and things like that. And they don't need to worry about that. They just build their technology on top of it. So Drupal's running things like news publishing systems, or like a track, or like some kind of project management replacement. It can be used in a lot of different ways. Just like the Joomla guys were talking about how they built a PHP framework that you can use. So we're kind of the same thing. Our focus is mainly on architecture. So everything has an API. We have a form API. We have users can be manipulated. We have basically anything that's a thing in Drupal has some sort of API to tie into it. We also focus on sort of bigger picture things, like, for example, Drupal supports multi-site hosting, which you can use to deploy Drupal to create a bunch of little sub-sites. A lot of bigger companies like that because they inherit all these tiny little websites that are everything from a static HTML web page to a big community site with forums and everything, and they can bring them all under one centrally managed umbrella, so they like that a lot. There's also a big focus on extensibility. We have what's called a hook system. So at any point during the page lifecycle, there's maybe 13 or 14 different places for you to cut in with your own module and say, yeah, instead of doing that, do this instead. So it's kind of well written that way. It also has a flexible theme system, just like we're talking about, Lawrence was talking about. It allows you to make Drupal look like anything, as opposed to just the little 3-block sidebar thing that it comes with out of the box. It has a small focused core, so core is Drupal out of the box is very small and does basically only a few things, provides sort of library tools that everybody else can use, and then you have hundreds of add-on modules that you can stick in there instead, so for doing extra stuff. So here are some of the people using Drupal. You might recognize a few names on there. Kernel Traps 1, Spread Firefox, of course. IBM has just written a whole series of articles on why they chose Drupal, and they've got all kinds of cool articles about that sort of thing. So. These are a list of Drupal's 2006 Summer of Code projects. We were kind of half and half as to how many of those have kept on as projects and how many of them haven't. But a lot of those people have stayed on in the community to help with core hacking and stuff like that, which is, to me, the most important thing because those people become integrated in the project and sort of help out for life. And then this is about my SOC experience. So I was just graduating from community college in 2005. And I basically had no confidence in myself, and I was like, oh, wow, that open source thing sure looks really cool, but I would never be good enough to do that, you know. And sort of thought that was the way it was going to go, and I was just going to get a job doing, you know, accounting packages in .NET or something like that. So, and one of my instructors told me about this program, so I was like, okay, well, they're expecting people to be students, so probably not like really whiz kid people. So I was like, all right, let me try. So I basically lowered the barrier to entry, so I didn't have to be as good as all these people I had up on pedestals. And so I applied and I got accepted, which I was like, what? Yeah. So ended up spending my entire summer working on Drupal. And that was a big challenge for a couple of reasons. One was that I had never, as I said, had never actually worked with Drupal before. But another reason is that in school, they don't really prepare you for working with other people's code. That's like cheating. You know, you're supposed to just kind of code everything from scratch, and then, you know, so I was really good at that stuff. But when it came to getting into another project and being like, whoa, what were they thinking when they wrote this? It was a little bit tricky to figure that out. And then stuff like version control systems we hadn't been exposed to, stuff like working around different time zones and stuff we hadn't been exposed to. So it was an awesome learning experience, and I got all kinds of things out of that. So now I went from zero newbie person to now I'm on the documentation team, I'm on the security team, I'm doing core hacking, I'm working with the Drupal Association, which is an upcoming thing that we're using to centrally manage some of the fundraising and things like that. So yeah, and I get to do this full time now and get paid by corporations to kind of make Drupal better. So it's basically everything I ever wanted, and thanks, guys. So.
Okay, so chapter 2, my Google Summer of Code project. Well, as you might have seen the previous session given by Lewis and Wilco, the Java XMLRPC application was called GExplore, but since there was some confusion about the name of another component, that's Joomla Explorer, we had to change it to Sideman, but well, it doesn't matter. So basically, Sideman is a desktop application that allows you to administer the content of a Joomla website. So what this means is that you just have an application, you double click on it, and you get a nice graphical user interface, a very native graphical user interface, that allows you to administer every single content item of a website. It is built in a modular way, which means that you can build extensions for it. In Joomla, you have also the ability to write extensions. So, for instance, you have Joomla, and you write an extension for a weblog, for a forum, and so on. Actually, Sideman has those same abilities. When you write an extension in Joomla, you can write the actually same extension in Sideman that allows you to just administer that data of the Joomla extension from a desktop environment. And well, the communication is over XMLRPC. So it's basically all about web services. It is cross-platform, which means that you can run it on any platform you want, such as Mac, Windows, Linux, Solaris, and so on. Basically every single platform you can imagine. It is node-based schemed, which means that, well, every item, every content item, a web link, an article, will be treated as a node, and you're gonna add some characteristics to that node. One of the problems we have in Joomla, and which is actually a little gift we got from Mambo, is that we can only create like 3 levels in the content component. So, for instance, you have a section, you have a category, and you have an article. That's it. You cannot make more levels in this data structure. So, in Sideman, I developed a data structure which basically allows you to nest as many items as you want. And MBS is also planned for Joomla 2.0, and the advantage is that you can just take the NBS from Joomla and dump it right into Sideman, so you don't have to convert all the actual items from Joomla to a node and so on. You just take the structure and you dump it into Joomla. It will be a quite huge boost of performance. Yeah, it's of course open source software. It's released under the Common Public License, and it uses web services. So basically, when you start up Sideman, it starts gathering the data from a Joomla website using web services. So it makes a connection to the server, and over XML, all the data is gathered from all different Joomla websites if you decide to use that. I'll give a demo. I think that will be a bit clearer then. So actually, the nice thing of Google is that they also, about the Google Docs previously widely, is that they also implement a XMLRPC interface, which allows you to basically push content to every CMS that has the same interface implemented. So for instance, a new document. So I love to program for Microsoft. So when you publish this, you have publish to the internet, which basically just generates a link. But you can also publish it to your blog. Basically, this Google Docs program has implemented the Blogger API, and the Blogger API is just a uniform set of functions which any CMS system or blog application can implement, so that if you have a blog application, you can connect to any application that has the same Blogger interface implemented. So just have to check my blocks, my settings.
Are you sure you want to publish that?
Yeah. Hold on. So it's my own server. It's basically just the URL /Joomla /XMLRPC, which is the location of the XMLRPC server. So just gonna test it. Okay. So if I push on OK and post it, actually I'm just gonna refresh this one. Okay, so these are just the articles on the Joomla website. So when you push this to a Joomla website, okay, the article basically just gets posted from the Google Doc server to my local Joomla installation. At least it should. So yeah, it should. Okay, here it is. So using web services, using XMLRPC, this document has been published to a Joomla website, which is a complete different location. So, but, there is something wrong with the sentence. So if I open my Summer of Code project and I just select the location of the server, it starts loading the data from that website using XMLRPC. So basically all the data packed into an XML envelope gets sent over HTTP, and on the client, which is this one, he unwraps it and he puts it in a data structure in order to manipulate it. So when I go to the news, and let's just change this one, Google, open source software, and just save it. It should be modified. Okay, so here we go. So basically that's the thing of Sideman. You edit your website from a desktop environment. The advantage of this application when you compare it to a Blogger interface is that it's much more extensive than Blogger. You can change the author alias, the creator, the access level, the publishing date, the stop publishing date, and so on. And basically, this user interface is a copy of the backend of Joomla, so it's very common for Joomla users. Also, a nice thing of this application, basically of a desktop application, is that you can very easily implement offline editing. So, for instance, for web design offices who are quite often in the plane their representatives, or like countries where the internet is very expensive, they just create their website, and once all the content is prepared, they just click on synchronize, and all the data get pushed on the Joomla website. So that's quite a big advantage of this application. Another advantage is that when you are editing your website and you have like a very slow internet connection, you just start editing, click on save, and select the next article, click on save again. And it's possible that the process of saving the first item is still executing. Basically, all the queries are put on a stack and they're executed synchronously. So you don't have to wait until the process is finished. When you have a web application, you have to wait until the process has finished, and after it's finished, you can start editing the next content item or article. So that's also a quite big advantage of a desktop application. The same for an image manager. For instance, when you have in Joomla an image manager and you want to insert an image, you first have to upload it. But it's quite hard to implement cropping and just optimizing of the image. When you have a desktop application, you can create like a small GIMP or Photoshop or something. You implement cropping locally on your machine. You can use all the resources of your desktop application, and once the image is manipulated, when it's cropped, when it's optimized, you upload it over FTP, which is also implemented in Joomla, and you would just insert it. So it is much more effective to use a desktop application with a CMS, because of the you can just basically use the power of a desktop application, which is not the case with a web application. And also another thing which I forgot to show, but I'll show. Where it is here. You can do Gmail authentication. So at gmail.com. So what it does is make a connection to the Gmail server, and he's going to check the user credentials. So if he sees that, okay, we have this user in our database with this password, if that's okay, give a true or something. So that's also implemented in Joomla and can be in the same manner of same methods used in Sideman. So you can use all the functionality of Joomla in Sideman just by using XMLRPC. The last thing is that, like I said, everything is modular. Everything is a plugin. So, for instance, when you take a look, we have like web links, which is a plugin to manage the web links. We have content, which is the currently active plugin you see. You have a user interface plugin, which is basically the general rough layout of this application. For instance, when you have the tree on the right side of the screen, you just create another plugin and you activate it, and everything will still work. And the last plugin is the XMLRPC. You can also change that. For instance, when you want to have communication over SOAP or over web dev, you just create another plugin, and the plugins such as web links and content will still work. So, okay, so that's about my Summer of Code project.
Okay, now about my Summer of Code project. It's a bit more theoretical than the Sideman project, because it was a research project for Joomla 2.0. And to start with, the current Joomla authorization system is a bit restricted. We have 7 user groups. These 7 groups they all inherit their rights from the lower groups, and they are fixed. You can't add another group. You can't move the groups in the trees. And Yeah, we have also 3 different ways of checking if a user is allowed to access certain objects, and there is no way to restrict 2 different groups to different content. So I can't say this group is allowed to view this category of articles, and this group is only allowed to view the other group of articles. And yeah, my project was about researching in that area, how to implement it in Joomla 2.0 in a way that these rights can be set more granular. Yeah, the goals for my Summer of Code projects were to implement the function of infinite groups in completely random structures, and to make the access rights each group has totally adjustable. And up till now, you can't really say, okay, this user or this group has right access to the content, and this one also is able to delete it, and it doesn't have these rights on another content object. So the content should be much more integrated into this. Yeah, and one of the main ideas was to make this system exchangeable. So in the real implementation, I used PHP GACL, which is a free library, and but you could also write an adapter and use LDAP or MySQL authorization and all that stuff, whatever way you like it. Yeah, the achievements. I said I don't have a really fancy application like Lawrence has, but because my stuff is more inside of Joomla, and it's the achievements were a class structure for Joomla 2.0, where we can implement all this. A manager to add and delete these groups, rearrange them, and add users to them. And yeah, the function headers for all the different, for the API I created. And yes.
The achievement is you got the group to agree on those?
Yeah, basically. What did I miss? Yeah, I think you want to take over here?
Well, yeah, that's basically a last code, which I find really interesting. It's we are moving to a world in which in the 21st century, the most important activities that produce occur not in factories and not by individual initiative, but in communities held together by software. And I think that's what open source software is all about. It's about the communities which work together on a great application. And yeah, I just want to end with it, so thanks a lot.
Here we have the Drupal girl again.
Yeah.
Hi. I figured I'd let them kind of do their thing, you know. Like, but yeah. So does anybody have questions on any of this?
Yeah. So for you guys, so what was your initial expectation when you went into summer code?
Well, that's difficult. Actually, we didn't know what to expect of the summer of code. It was like, okay, so we get paid by Google to work on open source software. It will be fun. So yeah, basically it was getting a chance of working with the core team of a open source project, and it was really hard to expect what actually would be done. So.
For me, as I said before, I've joined the Joomla team or the Joomla project in 2005 and started working with it. And in March, about March, I thought it would be nice to implement this ACL management. And this the Summer of Code gave me a reason to start with this, and it was a way to contact the guys from the team, and
it was also a first step just to get a chance to get integrated in the actual project itself. Because of the Summer of Code, we got the invitation to join the development working group, and I think without the Summer of Code, this wouldn't have been possible. So that's also a very nice thing about the Summer of Code.
Yeah, it allows projects like Drupal or Joomla to interview their new people,
commuters and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you can see, okay, they are capable of doing stuff. They are intelligent, and they,
It's neat because so many people come into this and they don't know what to expect. Even if you've been working with a project for a long time, you might not know what to expect because it forces you to kind of go through it with different eyes. You know what I mean? Because you get to work with all these really cool people who are totally integrated into the project that you normally would just know kind of from the mailing lists or stuff like that. So it gives you some one-on-one time. With those, it gives you a chance to really get integrated with not only your own community, but just open source development, in general and things like that. So it's excellent.
Do you think you would have worked with open source, done open source development, if it wasn't for Summer of Code?
Yeah, absolutely.
yes.
I would have tried.
Definitely.
I don't know. I don't think I would have had the confidence to try.
No, why not?
Because I have a very low self-esteem. But it's a little bit better now, so thank you again. Yeah.
Love you, Angie.
Oh, thanks. What's that?
It's a lot better now.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we wouldn't be standing there.
it's true. But you can't see my hands doing it. No.
So for Angela, for you, so what was your expectation when you were going into it in 2005? I think you sort of covered some of that already when you said, you're very surprised that you were accepted, and so what were the next steps that happened after that? So you got accepted and you started working on Drupal directly then?
I worked on a module to extend Drupal.
Okay.
But yeah, working on Drupal was part of it. The next steps then were kind of figuring out communications and stuff with my mentor. He was in Germany and I was in Canada, so there was a time difference there. And also, Drupal has 2 IRC channels, and one is called Pound Drupal, which is our development channel, and the other one's Pound Drupal Support for support questions. And I made the very big cultural snafu of asking a support question in the wrong channel and got flamed, and it was like, oh no! And so part of it was learning like the cultural boundaries and things like that, and also just kind of meeting all the new people. And it was really a neat experience because, and I still do have these guys up on pedestals because I know they're really brilliant, but it was neat because I got to see that, hey, the really smart people ask questions too, and it's not, there wasn't this huge imbalance like I figured that there would be. You kind of get that from looking on the outside in. You think, oh, these people are gods. They've done this awesome open source project thing, and I'm just a wee little developer. I don't know anything. And you get to kind of experience working with them, face to face over the internet, and it's just neat. Like the first time I was able to answer one of the core hackers' questions, I was like, ooh, cool, and I found my very first bug, and it was neat. It really it helped me kind of get down to earth and like realize that, hey, we're all just people that care about this project and want to see it come to life. So I don't know. Were you guys? Is that kind of the same thing that you found?
Yeah. When in the last weeks. I was asked by my dad a few times why I did open source, because to him, hey, it doesn't pay and it's a big waste of time and all. And I said, let's wait. It's experience, and later when I'm applying for a job. Here I've been a developer at Joomla and all. And he said, yeah, okay. And now I've been invited to the Joomla Day in Germany, to the Joomla Day in the Netherlands, and now to San Francisco. And I doubt that I would have gone to San Francisco this year without being invited by Google. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And so everyone who says open source doesn't pay, I'm currently on holiday here in San Francisco. What do you want more?
Well,
so there you go.
It does pay, but you just have to have some patience. So that's a nice thing about open source.
But it's not even all just about the green either. It pays in experience. It pays in learning to work with other people. Like just what you were saying earlier, how like you didn't get a lot of teamwork in university, right?
Yeah, true.
So.
Yeah.
What were your impressions on code quality?
On what, I'm sorry?
Code quality.
Oh.
Quality of the code.
Of your own code, you mean?
Any code in the project.
The code
Okay,
in the
yeah.
project. I mean, compared to like what you would see as a student, were you impressed that the code was high quality, or were you impressed that or were you depressed that the code was pretty bad quality? How did you deal with those kind of issues?
In Joomla 1.0, the code is okay.
Okay.
But in Joomla 1.5 is really great. And at the beginning, when I started coding for Summer of Code, it was, my mentor wasn't really okay with it, and he really beat it into me. So at the end, I think I learned a lot about code quality, and the result was really good. I think it's a Joomla standard, and the standard is really high.
That's also a nice thing about open source. It doesn't matter who you are when you get in a project. It's like, well, you really have to code, and based on that code you get a reputation, and that's not in like closed code environments. So I think, well, that's a really nice thing of open source. If you write very nice code and good code, you just get some appreciation, and you get the reputation. You just get a reputation from the quality of your code. So.
Yeah, so it's good incentive for people to write easy to read and efficient code and things like that. I was pleasantly surprised with my project because they enforce stuff like you have to PHP doc all of the, just the same as Java doc basically, but document all the functions and their arguments and things. And it was well commented. There was a lot of documentation. I was happy about that because I would have been, otherwise. But then I've seen other projects that are like 18 lines of regex and not a comment in sight, and it's a little bit, so it varies, I think, dramatically between projects, but
So are you guys looking forward to being mentors in 2007, or do you have any projects you want to benefit?
No, absolutely mentoring, yeah.
yeah.
Because it's such a nice experience just being part of the Summer of Code. I'm absolutely looking forward to mentoring another student, so.
Now you're giving up your $4,500.
Well, yeah, so.
And that's why we love you too, Lauren.
So I'm curious, this isn't really Summer Code related, but why do you think there are so many CMSs out there that are open source?
I think because everybody has their own idea of what a content management system should do.
Yeah.
What are the key differentiators?
Joomla's a lot better looking than Drupal out of the box. I was amazed. He was showing me the administrative interface, and I was like, ooh, there's like pictures and stuff. It's like, cool. Where we were more focused on, like, from out of the box, we have this really, basically, we were talking about this too. Joomla's community is made up of a lot more percentage-wise of users than Drupal's is. Drupal's is mostly developers. So you tend to get these UIs that are sort of passable, but the functionality under the hood is really great and flexible and extendable and stuff like that. Where Joomla is really focused on making the polish look sharp, and they've done a great job making that look awesome. And now they're kind of going, hey, we need some of that flexibility in there too. So now when you in Joomla 1.5, it sounds like you're really heading in that direction. So.
Well, and actually, when you have open source CMSs, they all have the same title, but in fact, they're completely different products. Drupal is a complete different product than Joomla. Actually, you cannot compare those two products. So.
Yeah. Well, at their core, they both manage content.
Yeah, but
they do it in completely different ways.
Manage is a very wide word, so it's very difficult to compare those two. Same with WordPress or with Typo3. There are just some different products that have their advantages and disadvantages. So you just have to make a decision upon those criteria. So.
Plus, it's fun to write a content management system. I mean,
So one of the things at Google that we deal with is dealing with a lot of unstructured data. A content management system, by definition, is pretty structured. Right? You have, like you were explaining, you have different categories and sections and articles. What are your respective projects doing to deal with unstructured data from large sites?
Drupal has a feature in it called Taxonomy. There's a taxonomy module. And with that, you can do structured hierarchies of n lengths deep. You can do a flat hierarchy. You can do multi-select for categories and things like that. You can do tagging. So they've really put a lot of thought around the categorization and structure of content. Every piece of content, whether it's a blog or whether it's a poll or whether it's a forum post, whether it's an album or whatever, comes from a base type, which is called a node. So they kind of sat back and said, okay, all of these things, what do they have in common? They all have a title, they all have like a teaser and body, they all have a create, date, time, author. Let's pull that stuff into this core thing, and then everything else gets added on externally. So at its base thing, everything in Drupal is a node, which is one thing, and then other fields or images or whatever are pulled in extra through the hook system. So that's how Drupal's approached that problem.
Yeah, Joomla has some legacy with this, and the old Mambo system isn't that flexible in that area, but we are moving towards that too. So a node-based system, and 2.0 will be completely based on this. Joomla just has a lot of modules like Drupal, and has to cope in that way with random content. So
basically, you just have to put your content into sections, and a section has some categories, and in a category you can just nest some articles, which are just like a big bunch of text. So, but like tagging isn't really possible with Joomla. I think that's also a bit
not with the core.
Well, yeah.
Anything's possible with
there are
yeah.
extensions
you
that
can
do
create
this.
an extension.
So.
Yeah. But that's just a different approach of Joomla versus Drupal. While Drupal is, in my opinion at least, Drupal is used for a lot of blogging application, community sites and all that stuff, while Joomla is used for, very complete sites where you just manage the content and just leave the content. So that's a bit a different approach than Drupal.
Does that answer your question? Cool.
More questions?
Come on. No.
Everyone wants beer and Dutch candy.
Everybody
Okay.
does want beer and Dutch candy. Yes.
Yeah.
Were the groups that you were joining hesitant of a Google agenda in any way, or did they kind of understand summer code and what it was about?
I didn't get that. Did you?
In Joomla, they did the Summer of Code in 2005 too. So I don't know what it was at that time, but when I joined, it was no problem, and there were no. I don't know these conspiracy theories or such. And Joomla is really open.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely was. I saw that on like the administrator mailing list and stuff like that, but that was just bizarre. Everybody that I knew from whatever project, it didn't matter, was really just grateful for the opportunity because they could see far term, like, this is great. It's going to help strengthen open source. And if you guys got some publicity out of it, it was like, good, like you should, because you're throwing money into this great ecosystem and stuff. So I know there were people that were looking for the ultimate agenda and things like that, but
you always have those kind of people.
You always have those people, but
doesn't matter.
I think they were few and far between in general. So.
Yeah.
My agenda was really to just get you your t-shirt.
Cool.
Did your classmates envy you? I'm curious.
Well, I just had graduated, so I didn't really have any classmates. But just before I had entered summer code, I got in a big argument with one of the guys about I was saying I wanted to program open source, and he was like, "You'll never get paid doing that," this kind of stuff. And I said, "Yes, I will somehow." And then this ended up happening. So I should go find him again and see if he's
it was the same with me. It was when I first got into open source, it was like, okay, yeah, open source is nice, but you can't get a living with it. And past week when I said I got the opportunity to go to San Francisco, it was like, okay, yeah, fine. So, it's really fun in the end.
Similar with me, so
Yeah.
they really envy now.
Go ahead. I'll chip in after you.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry.
Sorry, I thought you were going to add something. I just wanted to add, as an undergrad, I did the Summer of Code 2005. And people's reaction is first of all, wow, you spent your summer doing that, how dumb, I did nothing. So, yeah, that's the first stage of the reaction, and then the second stage was after, I'm now an intern at Google, so the second stage was after I got the internship at Google, partly because I already knew a lot of people from the Summer of Code. Then it was like, oh wow, yeah, maybe I should have done that too. And aside from that, well, that's the base reaction of people who go into software because it pays well and not much else. And other people just find it fantastic, and most of those who did find it fantastic went and joined the Summer of Code this year. Yeah, good stuff.
It's all about getting the passionate people who like live, breathe this stuff, and it does a good job of ferreting those people out. So.
So I like Evan Moglen, and I've seen him speak before, but I have to disagree with the statement there because open source software is all about individual initiative. It's individuals contributing in a way that they're comfortable and doing it.
Well, yeah.
So Evan's a very smart man. Don't let me undermine it. But my own experience with open source software and working in it for 6 years now is that it's all about individual initiative.
That looks like flame bait to me because a lot of it does
totally
come from corporate sponsorship as well.
Yeah, maybe.
But how many open source projects survive that are only depending on one single person? So it's always the community that pushes this forward. And
Right. The community is a collection of individuals.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not an amorphous blob of community, right? It's people.
That would be a philosophical question, I think. Let's discuss this over here.
I would agree with that, I think that's true. But I think that it's important to have that collective bunch of individuals doing stuff, because if they didn't have that, you just go and do your own individual collective thing over here.
And then you wouldn't have those big open source projects such as,
I'm sorry?
Before the internet, that was mostly what happened. People were doing stuff by themselves or in very small groups, and we didn't get very far.
Trading tapes.
Yeah, my point exactly.
Okay, more questions?